So here we are with our third passage, and this is a passage that made me do double take. Why? We started with this and I noticed that we are talking about a book called Meritocracy Trap. I ignored it. I said, okay, this is the name of a book. But then I read this paragraph and I was like, what? See, my take on meritocracy is that merit is the only thing that determines your success. So, but the paragraph actually goes on to say something contradictory. So I read it again that, probably I made a mistake. But then I read it again and I realized I did not. And in that made it clear for me that the author is using meritocracy not in its standard way, but in a slightly different way. So in the very first paragraph, he goes on to blame meritocracy. Then he goes on to give you characteristics of meritocracy. And thereafter, it talks about the impact of getting into those elite institutions, and once you go there, what exactly happens. And eventually it turned towards the fallout. So it said that, okay, we are not vicious and evil. We in fact at times act in politically progressive ways, but people who are less educated, they are, of course, they feel oppressed. And that is how people like Trump go ahead and get support. And then there is a word of caution here for people who believe in this so-called meritocracy. And with that, I think we can dive into the questions. So none of the following statements can be inferred except, so basically, which of the following can be inferred? So A, elite graduates invent technologies that benefit society. False. In fact, if I were to quote the relevant part from the paragraph, it says elite monopolize the best jobs and at the same time invent new technologies that privilege super skilled workers. Right? So it's not for the society but for those who are super skilled, so it can be eliminated. Then B, graduates from elite schools benefit the most from the current oppressive system. You basically need to refer to the third and the fifth paragraph. So third paragraph tells us that the elites monopolize the best jobs. Fifth starts off by talking about armed with all kinds of economic, cultural and political power, we support policies that help ourselves. There are, for that matter, hints that are present even in the first paragraph. So on the basis of this, B can definitely be termed true. How about C? People in leadership roles support free trade and open immigration out of altruistic motives. No, they don't do it so that they can benefit others. They do it so that they can benefit themselves. So definitely selfish, not altruistic. So this is false. D, the current system is a bipolar one. Bipolar, haves and have-nots. These are things that have not been mentioned in the passage, and therefore we can label it as can't say. So as you can see, option B very clearly is true, and therefore our answer to question number 9 should be option B. Let's dive into the next one. History is a graveyard of classes which have preferred caste privileges to leadership. What does it mean? It says that anybody who goes in for caste privilege, and actually in the context of this paragraph, even caste is used in a novel manner. So caste is when you look at or identify with people of your own kind, of your own type. So when you prefer people of your own type instead of leadership, where you're taking the entire society along, you perish, you die. So history is full of such instances. And the only option that interprets it correctly happens to be option A. My bad. So that's going to be our answer. If you look at the others, history informs us that caste privileges have all but disappeared. No, according to this sentence, they exist. That is why the author is sounding that word, note of caution here. The leaders who propound caste discrimination have survived. No, according to this statement, they are the ones that perish. Conferring caste privileges to a certain extent is not genuine. It's not about defining leadership. It's about telling that if you don't take everybody along but focus only on people of your own background, you'll perish. And That is where A easily scores over D. So our answer to question number 10 should be option A. Here is the next one. Elite institutes have become politically moderate because you just need to refer to the 6th paragraph, or you can also look at it as the 3rd last paragraph. Focus on the second half and you'd find the answer there. So that second half essentially tells us that elite institutions have become so politically progressive in part because the people in them want to feel good about themselves as they take part in systems that exclude and reject. So in a way they are doing it out of that guilt. So they're basically compensating for that. And that thought, that idea is captured correctly in option D. Right? So feel good factor. And with that, let's have a look at 12. So 11th is D. Let's have a look at question number 12. Which of the following statements can be concluded about meritocracy? So A, meritocracy is a conundrum. Conundrum is a difficult to solve problem or question. So I agree that the author does side with only benefits the rich, but not all the rich, even those upper middle class people who get into elite colleges. But conundrum is something that we cannot definitely come up with on the basis of the passage. So A can be ruled out. Then B, you remember a little while ago when looking at a question, we said that we don't find any mention of haves and have-nots, and therefore I think this can also be eliminated easily. See, the current meritocracy is not genuine. This sounds better because non-standard definition of meritocracy, remember, according to the passage. So C can be our answer. Let's have a look at D. Meritocracy fosters a more open and inclusive society. But then that's the actual definition, not the definition that has been used in this particular passage. Remember, they're calling it the meritocracy trap. So D can also be ruled out, and that makes C the best answer choice for question number 12. So that concludes our third passage.